Hey, welcome to this guided visualization and self hypnosis journey. This is specifically designed to help you to feel empowered when you have those super intense cravings and those urges to overeat. So take your time right now, moving around a little bit until you get comfy. And as you do that, I'll introduce myself briefly. I'm Kendra Sion, and I help people create an awesome relationship with food and their body so you can be the badass you were born to be, living this miracle of a life from the inside out. Now, I want you to know that everything that I say here is just an invitation. So if something doesn't resonate with you or doesn't feel good, just let it go and make it your own. So now, if you're all settled in, let's begin. Close your eyes if that feels good to you, and notice your breath. And if you're open to it, see what it's like to play with your breath a little bit. So maybe breathe in a little fuller than usual, and then maybe exhale a little longer than usual. Inhale fully, and then exhale longer than the inhale. This is going to allow your nervous system to calm down, to rest. It communicates to your body, you are safe. It's going to sound a little counterintuitive, but this is about relaxing into the deep work of what it takes to change this area of your life. Take a breath. And now I want you to see yourself on a typical day with a typical craving or urge to overeat. Choose something that you're familiar with. Maybe it's something that comes up every day or a certain time of day. Maybe it's at a particular meal when it comes up, or maybe it's with one specific food. I want you to pick one typical craving. And I want you to see yourself in that moment in a typical scene of when this would come up. See the details of this scene. See the clothes that you're wearing. See where you are. See who else might be there. And see yourself getting that craving, that urge to eat. Notice what the experience is like for you to have that craving, that urge. What's the feeling of having an urge? Do you feel like you're being pulled forward? Do you feel a little zing in your chest? Or maybe tension? Do you feel excitement? Or maybe shame? Is there some kind of discomfort you feel in the moment of having a craving or an urge? Maybe it's a feeling of emptiness. And again, I'll be quiet now while you explore your body. What's the feeling of an urge for you? Now, if it feels good to you, I want to invite you to play with the idea that when you have an urge for a craving, urges have no power over you unless you believe that there's no other option. Take a breath and see how that lands. Urges have no power over you unless you believe there's no other option. Again, take a breath. If you think about if you've ever had another kind of an urge, so off the topic of food, imagine just being annoyed with a stranger or something, a person in the supermarket, and you have the urge to maybe even like smack them upside the head. but you don't actually follow that urge. It's just a passing urge. And even if the urge is super strong, you know that you don't have to follow it. You know that there's another option, like ignoring the person, taking space from the person, turning the other direction, taking a breath. And it's relatively easy to not follow that urge because you've likely never followed that kind of an urge. You've probably never followed the urge to smack a stranger upside the head. And we get good at what we practice. We get good at what we practice. And so if you've never practiced following the urge of smacking a stranger, then you're really good at ignoring that urge. We get good at what we practice. So you're good at ignoring that urge. It might even be easy to ignore that kind of an urge. So just take a moment and notice, what could that mean for you when it comes to a food urge? Take a breath. You've likely practiced answering the urge to eat, the urge to get whatever it is that you're craving, the urge to keep eating when it tastes so good. How many times do you think you've practiced that? And I'm not asking with judgment. I don't want you to ask yourself with judgment. Instead, I want you to drop into genuine curiosity. Have you practiced it hundreds of times? Thousands of times? We get good at what we practice. Take a breath. What usually comes with an urge is a thought. And very similar to urges, they're just thoughts. They don't need to be acted on. Thoughts aren't something to automatically believe. They're not commands that need to be followed. They're just thoughts. They might be very convincing, but they're not necessarily true. They're not commands. They're just thoughts. If this is feeling true to you, I want you to imagine yourself having the typical thought that you'd have when a craving or urge to overeat comes up. And I want you to see what it's like to simply say to yourself, that's just a thought. So right now, see that scene of yourself having that typical craving. See where you are. See what time it is. See who else might be around, or maybe you're by yourself. What's the typical urge, and what's the thought that comes right along with it? Is it, I want that? Or that sounds good? Just another bite? I'll start good tomorrow? Oh, that tastes so good. I can't stop eating this. What are the thoughts that you have? I'll be silent now, and I want you to explore your mind in that moment. What are the thoughts that come up for you when you have a craving or an urge? Whatever that thought is, say that to yourself, and then right afterwards say, that's just a thought. I'll be silent, and you can do that now. And now take a breath and notice how that feels. Exhale long and say it again. That's just a thought. And if it feels good, continue to say that a few more times and really use your breath so that you're integrating it into your body. And if it doesn't feel quite right, that's totally fine. See what works for you. Find a better phrase that feels better to you. And then say that phrase to yourself right now. Repeat it a few times. Your phrase, or that's just a thought. Exhale slow and long. That's just a thought. And now here's the thing. When you've practiced following an urge so many times in your life, it's going to be uncomfortable for you to not follow the urge. Now take a breath. Especially if the urge to eat is coming up because you're wanting to relieve an emotion or distract yourself from an emotion. Because if you're not eating, now you're going to be left with the discomfort of that emotion. And now, even if there's not a deeper emotion to it, like sometimes an urge to eat really is just coming from a habit and there's not a big, deeper emotion below it. But still, regardless, not eating is going to be uncomfortable because you're so used to having the urge and following it. So right now, I want you to imagine being with that discomfort, the discomfort of not doing the habit, or the discomfort of feeling whatever emotion you wanted to avoid feeling. Take a breath. And now I want to invite you to play with the idea that feelings are meant to be felt so that they can be processed and moved through the body. Motion to move through. Feelings don't need to be fixed or changed. They're not to be avoided or distracted from. They're just feelings. And as a human being with a human body and nervous system, you were made to experience all kinds of feelings. What's the typical feeling you would be left with when you don't have food in that moment? I want you to imagine yourself having that feeling right now. And I want you to see what it's like to simply say, this feeling is safe to feel. I can choose to feel this instead of eat. My body was made to feel this. And now take a long exhale and notice, how does it feel to say that to yourself? I'm going to say each phrase and I want you to say it to yourself in your mind's eye after I say it. This feeling is safe to feel. I can choose to feel this instead of eat. My body was made to feel this. And as always, if none of those phrases feel quite right, then come up with your own short phrase about feelings so that you're going to feel more capable in this moment of discomfort. I'm going to be silent for a moment as you find a new phrase you like, or if you want to continue with the ones that I've offered, feel free to do that. This feeling is safe to feel. I can choose to feel this instead of eat. My body was made to feel this. And now just continue to exhale slow and repeat this or your phrase. Now, I want you to replay that scene again. See yourself in a moment of a typical craving. See where you are, the clothes you're wearing, what time it is, who else might be around, and see yourself having that craving or urge to overeat. See it really coming over you strong. And you have a thought, that typical thought that comes up that seems so convincing to make you eat. And you say, that's just a thought. Exhale slowly. And then you notice a feeling with that urge. And you say to yourself, this feeling is safe to feel. I can choose to feel this instead of eat. My body was made to feel this. And now I want you to imagine yourself taking a new action in this moment. Maybe it's putting the fork down. Maybe it's staying in your seat instead of getting up to get seconds. Maybe it's putting your dish in the dishwasher. Or maybe it's just going to another room. See yourself in that scene doing that new thing, not eating the food. Because it really was just a thought, not a command. And it really was just a feeling which you're totally built to handle and experience. And now I want you to see yourself acknowledging yourself for not answering that craving, that urge. See yourself appreciating taking a new action. How do you feel about yourself doing something new? Do you feel relieved? Do you feel surprised that you did something different? Do you feel maybe even a little proud of yourself? How do you feel knowing that you just handled that craving without force, without willpower, without shaming yourself out of not eating? You simply recognize the urge and the thoughts as something you don't have to answer. And you let yourself feel the discomfort and feel the emotion. We get good at what we practice. And if you practice this new way with this guided meditation and in real life, you will get good at it. It's impossible not to. So take another breath and be so, so proud of yourself for practicing a new way. And if this has felt helpful to you, come back and listen to this once a day for the next 7 days and see what changes start to happen for you. With that, I'll see you soon. Big love.